His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it, we have like Stockholm Syndrome.
Haha, Stockholm Syndrome. That's where you develop an emotional bond with your abuser. If you want to view the IRS as an abuser, that's fine by me. All right, so you may have seen this interview with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on CBS, where he says this.
I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. So that's what I'm working for.
It's a great sounding idea, and in this video, we are going to go over how realistic it is. Hey financial warriors, my name is Ben Hedges, aka The Credit Shifu, and on this channel, I cover all things credit and personal finance. If you like the sound of that, please subscribe. But let's get into it. So in the US in 2022, quote, 93% of Americans aged 15 and over earned less than $150,000. That is according to US Census data. So this tax cut that would take anyone earning under $150,000 out of income tax would affect over 90% of the country. But the interesting thing is that when you start to look at who pays the most tax in the US, you realize that this would not gut the income tax revenues by 93%. So who actually pays the most income tax? Well, if we look at data from the Tax Foundation, we can see that the top 1% pay 45.8% of income taxes. Then if we add in another 4%, that gives us 19.9% in taxes. So the top 5% together pay 65.7% of income taxes. Then if we take another 2% from the next bracket down to get our 7% figure that we need for all of the people who earn above $150,000 a year. Remember, 93% earn less than $150,000, so that's going to be 7% earning more than. So that's going to be another 4.08%. If we add that all together, we get 69.78%. So basically, people earning above $150,000 per year pay 70% of income tax. And that means that people under $150,000 per year pay just 30% of income tax. So how much would it cost to take them out of income tax altogether? Well, going off of 2022 data, the US brought in about $2.176 trillion in income tax revenues. So that would mean that we would need to find 30% of that, or $652 billion, to make up for that lost revenue. Now, that is interesting because I've heard Lutnick talk in previous interviews that he believes tariffs can bring in $700 billion a year. I tried really hard to find a clip of that interview. It was from a few weeks ago, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. However, the quote is mentioned in several news articles. But here is a clip from the same interview that I found on Instagram where he outlines the idea.
Remember, we pay taxes into the Internal Revenue Service. Wouldn't it be amazing to stop paying taxes to the Internal Revenue Service and have the External Revenue Service?
So basically, it's to have tariff revenues replace income tax. It's basically about growing this part of the tax revenue and shrinking this part. And the idea is that although tariffs are paid by Americans importing products, okay, that's an important thing to remember. It's Americans who pay the tariffs. So critics would say that you're just shifting the tax to a different form, but it's really not as simple as that, since there would be foreign manufacturers who would perhaps reduce their prices somewhat to maintain competitiveness. They might meet you halfway, so that could eat, say, 50% of the tariff already. Then there are other factors to do with currency fluctuations. Say if the US dollar gets more valuable because our economy is getting stronger, foreign goods cost less to us anyway, so the tariff doesn't really add that much. And the tariff is only paid by the first importer on the wholesale price anyway. So if there's, say, a 25% tariff on something, the final retail price won't increase by 25%. Let's say the wholesale price of something is 50% of the retail price, just for ease of math. That would equal 12.5% price increase at retail. But then maybe the foreign company is selling the item at a discount, kind of meeting you halfway to make it, make their product stay competitive. So perhaps you only see a price increase of half of that, 6.25%. But at the same time, you're now not paying the 20% or whatever you were previously paying in taxes on your income. So it sounds great on paper, but in reality, I think we'll get some sort of hybrid version of this, okay, where people's taxes are reduced somewhat in a bill this year, okay? Tax Cuts and Jobs Act will be extended. Maybe there'll be some additional tax cuts, and the campaign promises of no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security will be delivered. And then maybe the idea will be that later on in Trump's term, he will try to reduce taxes even more, okay? If Republicans can hold on to the House and Senate after the midterms. If not, then this plan is basically dead. But what do you think? Could this happen? And do you want to pay less in taxes, all right? I certainly like the idea as long as we can balance the budget. Share your thoughts below and please subscribe to the channel for for more videos like this.